are these people?
This happened last week, and I think a lot of people missed it. Borderland Talk with Jenn Budd. Jen used to be a CBP agent who quit and blew the whistle on what she saw. And what she saw was racist chuds everywhere. And we've covered a couple of her articles in the past and a couple of her notes from Substack. She says, Border Patrol achieves its goal of becoming the national police force. And now here's what to expect. What? She said that in 2021, she wrote a piece titled Border Patrol's Dream. Thank you. Border Patrol's dream of becoming a national police force is becoming a reality. Of all the law enforcement agencies in the federal government, this is the most dangerous one to unleash on the country. The Border Patrol questionably asserts the power to stop anyone, regardless of status, enter into anyone's private property, check proof of citizenship, and routinely execute searches without warrants as required by the Fourth Amendment. No other federal agency presumes to have these powers. She says she was called an idiot by the Border Patrol Union, a fearmonger by mainstream media, a disgruntled employee by both the left and the right. But if you were an ex-Border Patrol agent or studied the agency for decades as she has, you would know the history as she wrote in that piece. And she writes, quote, "This was a plan designed and pushed by former Border Patrol Chief David Aguilar to inject CBP into every major national event. That's exactly what the Border Patrol has been doing with the deployment of BORTAC, Border Patrol SWAT-like team, patrolling sanctuary cities and controlling SWAT-like raids on immigrant facilities across the country. Because the Border Patrol claims jurisdiction within 100 miles of all land and border waters, which includes over 2/3 of the population in the United States, everybody's safety is now at risk." She says, "Don't say I didn't warn you." She says, let me make this a little bigger. "I was not in the least bit surprised to see the Associated Press report 2 days ago that Border Patrol would be taking over ICE. The agency had already infiltrated its parent agency, CBP, after Trump took office the second time by placing former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott as commissioner. Scott has zero experience as a CBP officer, no college degree in management of such a large agency dealing in trade, asylum processing, or the many other jobs required by CBP at our ports of entry. However, as a chief in the Border Patrol, Scott is heavily experienced in bringing in the violence. He knows extensively how to cover up the criminality of his agents. How convenient." In May of 2010, after his agents beat to death a man for demanding medical treatment for an injury caused by an agent, Scott's secret and illegal cover-up team, known as the San Diego Critical Incident Investigative Team, interfered with the San Diego Police Department's homicide investigation of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas. Under Scott's supervision, agents obstructed justice by destroying the video evidence, allowing agents to leave the scene, failing to identify witnesses to the incident, destroying other physical evidence such as taser prongs and the victim's clothing, using an immigration civil subpoena to obtain the medical report, which is not legal, and then refusing to turn that report over to San Diego PD homicide investigators. And yet, no agent was ever held accountable for Anastasio's death. On May 1st, 2025, nearly 15 years after Anastasio was killed, the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights found that, quote, "Although Mr. Hernandez was taken to the hospital on May 28th at 9:48 p.m., station officials informed the appropriate authorities on May 29th at 2:12. More than 4 hours later, the San Diego Police Department was notified at 12, and the processing of the Whiskey 2 area began at 1:52 p.m. That sounds like a lot of time. Thus, more than 16 hours had passed since the occurrence of the events, and the investigation team went to the crime scene to gather information without any record in the file that the area had been previously secured in order to safeguard the evidence and prevent contamination, because it hadn't. On the contrary, what is established is that prior to this, Border Patrol's critical incident investigation team arrived at the scene. In this regard, the commission has 4 observations to make. 1, it's not clear what legal basis could justify the intervention of this body in the investigation and the excessive use of force resulting in the death of a person. Why are they there? Second, there's no basis in the national legal framework to support this priority access to the crime scene, and no other evidence, such as his medical records. Why are they getting access to that? Third, the state hasn't demonstrated compliance by this body with the aforementioned requirements. They haven't turned anything over. And finally, it's highlighted with concern, strongly worded letter, that the CIIT refrained from forwarding the collected information to the San Diego Police Department, which could represent an obstacle to the investigation whose jurisdiction is not in dispute. While you will not find much reporting on this astounding IHCR report in American media, the U.S. is a participating partner within the commission and often uses it to condemn other countries for their human rights abuses. How convenient. Here's another one on September 28, 2012. Chief Scott struck again with another cover-up. This time, his illegal cover-up team was unavailable. Fortunately for him, orders were given for the San Diego Sector Intelligence Unit to round up witnesses. Scott himself rushed to the scene in Chula Vista, where one of his agents, in plain clothes without identification visible, shot a U.S. citizen and a mother of 5. Valeria Taquiquin was killed instantly when Border Patrol agent Justin Tackett unloaded 10 bullets into her upper body as she sat in a car. She was unarmed and was trying to get away from this unknown man who continually placed himself in front of her car to block her. Chief Scott stood before cameras immediately after the killing and before any investigation had commenced to claim she had tried to run Agent Tackett over. Yet witnesses came forward and stated Tackett was firing from a standing position and other agents placed witnesses in their cars to prevent them from speaking with Chula Vista Police Department investigators. Go figure. After the incident, Chief Scott and Border Patrol press information officers leaked out as much investigative information as they could find about Valeria's past, because that's what they do, smear the victim. But when 10 local news discovered Agent Tackett's long history of abuse and violating people's rights that extended all the way back to his days working for the Imperial County Sheriff's Office as a deputy, Border Patrol suddenly stopped talking. They didn't want to influence the case. How convenient. Still, the CIIT and intelligence unit did their job, and Agent Tackett was transferred to Tucson sector to continue wearing the green uniform, and again, no one was held accountable. Rodney Scott, who is again now taking over ICE, embodies the culture of U.S. Border Patrol. The agents selected to take over ICE, whomever they are, do as well. One can't rise to these ranks without being willing to cover up the crimes of Border Patrol agents. Using the cover-up teams that are now housed under CBP's Office of Professional Responsibility, the OPR, and knowing to call them in first before the real use of force investigators arrive is standard operating procedure within the agency. In over 101 years, no Border Patrol agent has successfully been prosecuted for killing a person while on duty. That's disgusting. What Americans are witnessing in their neighborhoods is the Border Patrolification of the immigration agencies. On the southern border, every single night, in multiple sectors, agents perform dangerous pursuits and illegal PIT maneuvers, ramming cars they suspect may have undocumented persons. They spike vehicles driving at high speeds, even though training says it can cause fatal rollovers. Again, that's their point. They bust out windows of cars without ever asking anyone's citizenship and then shoot the drivers as they run alongside the car. They chase them into known dangerous corners, into rivers, canals, and other innocent cars just coming home from work. All for a crime of crossing the border without inspection, which is a misdemeanor. All of this is just punitive. And it's attacking people that are brown. That usually we fucking did something to their hometown, their home country, that caused them to need to come here. Trump trusts the Border Patrol, and they love him. Their union was responsible for delivering his message of open borders, which there never have been, and escorting right-wing media to every apprehension they could find prior to Trump taking office a second time. Even for creating some fake crossings, and there's a link to that. Yes, they manufacture crossings that they then can show that they're busting, but this is all theater. This was all an attempt to make Americans believe there was a migrant invasion occurring, when in reality it was caused by Trump and the Border Patrol's own policies of shuttering the legal asylum system. Remember, they closed the borders the last time Trump was president. Closing legal avenues forces people to cross illegally every time. It was not an invasion, but CBP refusing to process people. They were keeping hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of people in Mexico. People who were genuinely seeking asylum the legal way. But he ended asylum effectively. Wouldn't grant it. So she says here, again, this is Jenn Budd, Border Patrol. All right, Borderland Talk with Jenn Budd. Jenn Budd, JENNBUDDs.substack.com. It's important to understand the cultural differences between ICE, CBP, and the Border Patrol. ICE normally targets those with criminal warrants and records, or at least in the past. They are investigators and are supposed to build cases with probable cause and evidence for judges to consider if someone should be deported. They are by no means honorable, but that is their intended purpose. They're also knowing that judges are basically doing whatever they are suggesting anyway and aren't really asking hard questions. Or they're just attacking the judges. When it comes to immigration enforcement, CBP processes asylum seekers and other varieties of people seeking legal entry in the U.S. It is a much more controlled environment at the ports of entry, and one in which the officers have an immense amount of authority over those seeking entry. Border Patrol is looked down upon by both ICE and CBP as the thugs of immigration, which is funny. She said, in my day, we were called the butthole of the federal service. The agency is known for hiring people with criminal records, including child sexual assault, DUIs, cops in the process of being removed from other agencies, those with cartel ties, and even undocumented applicants, which is hilarious. And all of those, by the way, she has links and receipts to. So I'm not just saying that. Border Patrol is the agency doing the violent ripping of children from their parents. The dangerous high-speed chases that not only harm migrants, but kill and forever disable many innocent Americans. The deterrence policies where we purposefully push migrants, not allowed to do it the legal way, out to the most lethal terrain to cross, fully aware that they'll likely die or suffer severe amounts of physical and emotional trauma. Again, that's their point. If you're going to do it, you're going to pay the price. The Border Patrol, different from CBP, is the law enforcement of the Wild West. It's where politicians don't care what we do because migrants can't vote, nor do they donate to political campaigns, which makes them the perfect scapegoats. It's where agents can sexually abuse their own children and be working for a Border Patrol contractor before they're even sentenced to lifetime probation. Yeah, that happened. It's where they can be caught on video committing the exact same allegations made against them, and then they're acquitted. It's where Rodney Scott can order the tear gassing of women and children seeking asylum as they stand in Mexico without repercussions, just for the hell of it. It's where agents know that their chiefs will ensure the cover-up teams will botch the evidence, identification, and collection so badly that juries can't convict them when they reach into Mexico and put 10 bullets in the back of a child as he walks down the street. Everything you are seeing in your cities and neighborhoods has occurred down here on the southern border for generations. The beatings, the tasings, the less than lethal ammunition assaults, ramming, spiking, PIT maneuvers, guns in your face. That's the Border Patrol Jen knows and remembers well. It's done in the most desolate of places, on the spider webs of dirt roads, on the little 2-lane highways that are mostly empty. It's what she wrote about extensively in her memoir. If she were a high-ranking ICE or CBP officer, she would see this as a hostile takeover. She would be offended that the administration trusts Border Patrol agents more than it trusts them. The Border Patrol has just reached their goal as the national police force. With their management and control of ICE and CBP, they not only control in between the ports, they now control the ports themselves, the deportations, and CBP's vast surveillance of Americans, by the way. They're Trump's private and secret police. They answer to no one. Trump can trust the Border Patrol will violate Americans' constitutional rights because they've always done so. And she closes by saying, "Buckle up, buttercups. The violence has just begun." Again, not really a pleasant article here. So fuck ICE, man. Holy crap. I mean, did you know that about this whole CBP, ICE, Border Patrol, the difference between them? I certainly did not. It's really interesting to see. Again, this is IndieNewsNow Live. Appreciate everybody checking this out. This is the first episode of the new version of this show. Before I continue, I do want to ask you to support independent media if you're able to and a means. The ways to do that are the same as always. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. That goes right to my phone. $, Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. We got paypal.me/Indie News Network. Do that as friends and family. All right. Then we've got, again, at the Indie News Now website that we are live at right now, there is a tab to keep the news free, and you can donate via Stripe. And then we've got over at Substack, INNnewsletter.com, where we publish weekly update and more, and where we are live now at IndieMediaToday.com. And again, good to see everybody over there. Thank you so much, really, for supporting independent media and for hanging out. We're gonna do this every Tuesday night now at 10 p.m. Eastern. We're just shifting. So for those who weren't here earlier, like Vicky, and it's in the description, but How Do We Miss That is evolving. You know, I took a look around at the landscape and I said, you know, as a show name, it's been around for 4 years. We never really named the show. It kind of evolved into its own name, but I never actively decided that this is what I want to call it. But because we're using articles from Indie News Now, I think it makes a lot of sense to brand Indie News Now and link the website into the show name. So it's called Indie News Now Live. And I've been wanting to do a show kind of by myself, a news show. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to see how this goes. Again, Thursday nights, you're going to see a mix of shows. You're going to see a combination of either INN one-on-one. You're going to see Indie's Tech Tips, which I'm going to do shows of, and we're going to talk about the tools. We're going to do some more Nobody Wants to Work Anymore, and there might even be one on Thursday with me and Himbo. And, of course, American Tradition, which will be the last Thursday of every month. We've kind of tried to set on that as a schedule. So thank you, everybody, again, for supporting this move. Tell everyone about Indie News Now and about Indie News Now Live. I really think that it might help give us a little bit of a boost because we certainly could use one. The algorithm doesn't love us. Boats, by the way, will be moving to 11 p.m. on Sunday nights. So we are still going to do boats. It's going to happen on Sunday night. And the last Sunday of every month will still be in uncensored boats. But the truth is that I can't continue to stay up as late as I've been staying on Sunday nights, especially. And I've got to start working on my schedule. So spreading this out a little bit better seems to make more sense, at least for me. And we're going to try this and see how it goes. And thank you, everybody, for being on board and supporting that. So I will, again, say to support independent media because we need it more than ever. And we will see you next Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m., check out INN News with Reef and Colin. And we'll see you again real soon. Love you all, fam. No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say?